everyone. Happy Wednesday. Sorry, we're so prepared, or so worried about getting prepared that we are a few minutes late. Or a minute late.
Trying so hard to be prepared that we're unprepared.
Perfect. Welcome to our comedy show. Just kidding.
It feels like a comedy show today.
It's been one of those weeks for us. If it's been one of those weeks for you, please say week in the comments below. Holy cow. So, we are so glad you're here. We're so glad we're here.
And we might give you a little comedy tonight. Who knows?
Sorry.
We're about that.
Happy fall. It's October. It's the second Wednesday in October. We just started doing the live in the group last week. So we're still figuring out some of the technology, how Facebook does the videos in the group. So thank you for joining us. If you want notifications about us going live, there is a link pinned to the top of the page that you can click on. You'll have to fill out a little form. If you're in the U.S., put in your phone number and you'll get a text message. If you're outside of the U.S., put in your email address and you'll get an email, because we can't text outside of the United States. I've tried. It did not work. So,
look, I
go
found
figure.
It.
Hey, there we are. Perfect.
Let me see if I can figure out how to make it.
We're figuring this out, a little bit at a time.
Watch there. We're there.
I've tried. It did not work. Okay. So, listening for Karen. Hi.
How are you? Oh, good.
We were just talking about you and how we would love to catch up with you sometime if you have a few minutes.
Yeah, we're going to reach out to you and try to schedule some time.
Yeah, because we want to make sure that you're staying as well as you can. So if you need anything extra, we want to be there for you.
Yep.
So if anyone else is on, please say hello. Please tell us where you're watching from. We are talking about oral dysphagia today.
Yes. Oral phase dysphagia is rarely seen alone, but it happens.
Okay.
So typically it's oral and pharyngeal dysphagia.
Otherwise known as oropharyngeal. Because I see that as a diagnosis all the time.
Well, there is a CPT code specifically, or ICD-10
so that Medicare and Medicaid and or
know what we're talking about
can get billed. Anyway, Hi Janet. Thank you for joining us. Hey Karen, we love you too. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're feeling better. So with oral dysphagia today, we are making roasted root vegetables. This is a play on the salad that we did at Stephanie and her husband's restaurant that myself and my husband worked at 7 years ago.
Right.
So this is
you are the one that developed this salad that had the roasted root vegetables.
My husband developed the sauce. The sauce is a little bit the sauce he developed was a little bit labor intensive, and I'm not gonna make it in my home. So we're gonna do something a little different with some oranges, which I have not prepared yet, but we're gonna kind of wing that, and we're just gonna go with it and make a delicious sauce.
Yes, we are.
So it's gonna be orange, so citrus, honey, little bit of vinegar probably for a little bit of extra tartness, depending on how tart our oranges are. It's just about orange season here, so they should be getting to that sweet point soon.
Really?
December is like orange season.
Who knew?
We always find like Cara oranges, which are the pink ones, in December.
Being from the South, orange season is summertime.
I'm from Washington State. We're way behind.
I don't think of oranges in October, but I can't wait to taste this.
And you always get blood oranges in like December. I know.
That makes sense.
Weird. So we're going to do a little bit of sauce. We're going to do some fun stuff with our parsley for some color. I have these cake decorating pastry bags. You can just use a Ziploc bag. I had these on hand because once upon a time I used to decorate cakes. Pauline, hello.
Hello, Miss Pauline from England.
Happy you are here with us.
So delighted.
We were just talking about you as well. So happy
that
you're here.
That is true.
So,
all right, so let's dive into oral phase dysphagia. Let's talk about.
So we roasted veggies. So I'm going to start with food real quick. They're in the oven.
I have to do
The dogs are on a roll. So Stephanie is going to go. Hi, Cindy from New Jersey. Very happy to see you as well. So in the oven we have root vegetables. So we have beets, rutabaga, parsnips, carrots. So onion. Technically a root vegetable, but
It's technically a root vegetable, but
garlic. Which one am I missing? Rutabaga, parsnip, beets, carrot, potato. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a sweet potato, sort of, that didn't make it.
Yeah, he was old. So I got these carrots locally. They're little. They're cute. So I have a bunch of those. My brother's trying to call me again. I keep forgetting to call him back. And he's in Alaska, so it's 4 hours different there. So I'll call you back later, brother.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's talk about the causes of oral phase dysphagia.
Yes, there are a number of different causes
There
from what I understand.
can be. The number one cause of it is some kind of neurological condition. So see it a lot with stroke, Parkinson's, MS, ALS. Isn't that fun?
It smells amazing. Okay. Carrots, parsnips, beets, rutabagas. Turnips, that's the other one we have.
Oh, turnips. We sure
I knew I was
did.
forgetting something.
So another, any kind of damage that you may have had to the oral cavity, for some people it's dental issues, damaged dental that will change your chewing, eating, swallowing. For others, structural issues could be something that you were born with, that the structure of your mouth is different. And sometimes you can be born with it and you manage for many years.
Yeah.
And then as you age, the muscular control doesn't support the way you managed before.
Yeah.
So could be that. Age-related changes in dentition. So if you lose your teeth and get dentures, that can change your swallowing because it changes how your muscles move against each other. Other things could be medication. There can be medications that dry you out, that will dry out your oral cavity and your swallowing mucosa, that totally changes your ability to swallow.
Yes, I talk about this with people all the time. They're always going, why do you care about my medications? And my answer is because your medications cause things to happen inside your body. Some of those are desired, some of them are not. Those are called side effects. We care about those because they make a difference.
Yes.
Pauline says, what's ALS, Stephanie?
ALS is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. So it is a degenerative disease that attacks the muscles slowly for some, but every muscle, the muscles of breathing, the muscles of swallowing, the muscles of the eyes, the muscles of the arms and legs. So the most famous person with ALS,
Lou Gehrig,
is Lou Gehrig. Yes.
So it's called Lou Gehrig's disease often because it was named after him.
Right, because I think that
was a baseball player.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's a muscular control disease.
Yes.
Good question.
Yep.
Thank you.
What's the difference between rutabagas and a turnip? So I wish I had the actual veggie to show you. So I did have.
I can go pull one.
That's out in the garden though, right?
Yeah,
So this is a turnip. Okay. These are relatively small. I've seen them get much bigger than this. A rutabaga, were yours bigger or were yours a little smaller?
So I pulled the smaller ones. I have one that's this big. But they are different. I wish yeah.
So this was our...
It's kind of yellow.
This was our turnip, right?
It's white.
It's
turnip
white
is actually
colored.
white.
The rutabaga
is yellow.
So this is the inside of the plant. So taste-wise, it's sort of like I want to say a mix between like cabbage and a potato, but with a little bit of carrot as well.
Ooh. That needs some.
That one we'll throw back in. The rutabaga is more similar to a carrot, I would say.
It's a little bit sweeter.
Yep. So
yeah, let's take this off and put those back in.
Yep. Except that I turned off the oven.
Well, guess what?
It's not having it. Hold on.
We are
challenged sometimes.
Organized disorganization.
So I'm gonna put these into the food processor. And we're gonna have to clean as we go here because we have a lot of things and we only have 3 little food processors. It's not as clean as I wanted it to be. Hold the phone. We're not doing that.
Well, you know what?
You have another one?
I have the little
Okay.
ninja.
Sorry. I cleaned it and put it in the bag and apparently not happening. So we're gonna use something different. So if you're doing something like this, I would say blend it, put it in your baggie. It could be a Ziploc baggie. And then set it aside. Perfect.
This one's a little bit loud, so I'll move it off to the side, but you can put this in there.
Okay. So we have a little bit of broth on the side as well. And we're going to blend these with some broth. So I'm pureeing all of them.
Put a little broth on it so it steams.
But if you're minced and moist, one thing you can do is you can put a little bit of broth in a pan and steam these. You don't have to roast them. That way, they will still stay nice and soft, and you'll be able to do minced and moist, which is getting them through the tines of a fork. Or if we add sauce of some kind, we can do soft and bite-sized because these will be roasted enough that they'll be nice and soft, and our oral muscles, etc., will be able to manage them chewing-wise. And our teeth are supposed to puree things so that going down, this is why I always recommend eat slowly, chew well.
Yes.
Yes. So, okay. So I'm going to add a little bit of broth to each of these, and I got to make sure I keep them straight because some of them look the same once they've been chopped up. So carrots are easy. This was the turnips. So turnips are long, similar to a carrot, but they're wider at one end and skinnier at the other, and they're white. So, okay.
And this is a very tiny version of it.
That's the hold on. Turnip. No. The turnip was the long, that's a parsnip.
The parsnip is long.
Oh. See, I'm backwards. You'd think I'd know this.
She's
being
had a
chef
rough
and
week.
all.
She's had a rough week. So we're going to...
And if my mother-in-law is watching, I love you. I appreciate you so much. FYI.
I love you too, Patty. Mama Patty. So let's talk a little bit about symptoms of oral phase dysphagia. So oral phase dysphagia is going to primarily stick to the muscles of the oral cavity. So any difficulty chewing. So think about chewing. When you chew, it's not just the movement of your jaw muscle going up and down to chew the food. When you chew food, your tongue is required to continually move the food back between the teeth in order to chew it down.
So it doesn't fall over here.
Otherwise, it would fall, well, when you bite it.
Or other places.
Yeah, it falls under your tongue. It falls, or it can fall under your tongue. It can fall in your cheeks. Unless your tongue continually moves it back between the teeth, you're not going to be able to chew. Too tight?
I don't know.
That's weird.
I have trouble with mine all the time. I just didn't have it on there all the way.
Okay. Another symptom would be pocketing of food. So if you find that food fills your cheeks and you're not able to get it out, some people call it squirreling food or chipmunking food, but very important to not stay with food in your cheeks. Number one, it breaks down the dentin of your teeth. It causes dental problems.
Yep. It can lead to cavities. It can lead to infections.
Absolutely. And if you have food that pockets in your cheeks and you lay down and fall asleep, there is a risk. There's a risk that you could aspirate. It could block the airway. So we don't
want that.
Want you to hold anything in your cheeks.
No, we do not.
Drooling would be a sign of oral phase dysphagia.
Yeah.
The reason for that is because if you're losing, even if it's just your saliva, if you're losing food or saliva or liquid out of your lips, it tells me that your lips are not strong enough to hold it in.
Right.
There's an attentional thing, so there's some cognitive component of that. But there is also, if your lips are not strong enough to hold it in, it makes me question the strength of all of the other muscles. So it makes me concerned.
So I have a lady right now that for years, she had a massive stroke. She's relatively young. Younger than you. Massive stroke. She's in a wheelchair. She has trouble keeping food in her mouth. She often loses it. She drools a lot. So we're working on, and she has trouble with closing her lips because that stroke affected her nerves and her muscles. So we are really working on getting her off of her feeding tube, because I did it once and then she had to go to the hospital for trouble breathing and they put it back in, which makes me crazy because she didn't need it. But so we sit with her when she eats and encourage her. We have to remind her to do a lot of these things orally because she needs the reminder. Most people are not that extreme, I would say. Most people.
Another very interesting story. I have a person at my facility right now who is deaf.
Okay.
Has been deaf since birth and has never really used the muscles of his mouth for speaking. And has now had a stroke.
Oh no.
So controlling those muscles is foreign to him.
Yeah.
It's hard because he's had a stroke and they're weaker, but it's also he's not had experience with using those muscles.
Right.
Other than for eating. So that's a tough.
Right. And you were telling me the other day that the muscles of speaking are oral.
So, correct. So many of the muscles of speaking are the muscles of swallowing at the oral phase level.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm gonna taste this to make sure it's smooth enough.
That looks pretty.
I like orange. It's such a beautiful color.
Yes.
And if you're wanting to get a little festive with this, you could add a little ginger. You could add a little orange.
Cinnamon.
A little cinnamon. It needs to go a little bit longer.
Butter. Do you want some butter?
Yes, I want some butter.
Okay, look in there. in the
dish.
Is there some there?
I don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
Little bit of butter. So anytime, just FYI, we say this all the time when we're pureeing, but anytime you are pureeing and having trouble making things smooth, any kind of fat is going to help. So butter, oil.
And anytime you're pureeing, even if you don't need thickened liquids, adding a little bit of thickener to your veggies can help them stay in place, because sometimes there's not enough starch in veggies to hold the liquids in. So they start to we call it bleeding. They start to lose some of their liquid, and we don't want that to happen, especially if there's trouble with mixed consistencies.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm going to blend this again. Okay.
So another symptom could be, or sign, could be gagging or coughing while you're eating. So gagging and coughing can be a sign that things are escaping you and getting away from the oral phase of the swallow before the swallow starts. Or gagging, same thing. It could be getting away from you, but it also could be a sign of hypersensitivity.
Right. And we see that a lot. People are overly aware of what is in their mouth. Okay, so hello from Winter Garden, Florida. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. We're happy you're here. Janet says curry. Tell us a little more. I missed it when you wrote it. I'm not sure what we were talking about exactly. Tell us a little more, Janet. Sorry about that. Okay.
All right. So another,
Smells like butter and carrots.
I love buttered carrots.
I do too.
So another sign or symptom of oral phase dysphagia could be prolonged meal times. So if it takes you an hour to eat,
Yep.
I might get concerned.
Right?
Now, if you are having dinner with friends and it takes you an hour to eat because you're having conversation,
Taking your time.
and just enjoying the evening, that doesn't concern me.
Right.
But if every meal takes an hour or more, I might be a little bit concerned.
Right.
And we need to talk.
Right.
Another thing would be a lot of throat clearing while you're eating. Getting to the
Yeah.
level of, there you go.
Carrot. Okay.
Carrots are ready.
What did I say this was? Parsnip. The long, fat at one end, skinny at the other one. Parsnips. Check. More liquid. More liquid.
So,
Okay.
so that has been the causes and the symptoms of oral phase dysphagia.
Yep.
Let's talk about the structures of swallowing at the oral phase level. So the lips, we talked about the lips already.
We did. They have to close.
And
around...
they have to be strong enough in order to pull the food off of.
Yes. Flavors to add. Curry and carrots. Absolutely. Curry in any of this, honestly, Janet, would be phenomenal. So, yes. Sorry. Lips. Closing.
No, that's okay.
Pulling.
So your lips have to be able to close enough to be able to get the food off of the spoon or fork. They also have to be strong enough to be able to keep the food in your mouth and not dribble out or drool out.
A little bit of dribbling and drooling is not a big deal. It happens to the best of us. You know what? So,
like every now and then, but
Yeah.
if it's every day,
if
I
it's
would
every day,
worry.
every meal, yes. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. I apologize.
That's all right. I like it. I'm used to it. I don't think I could live without her interruptions.
Bless
actually.
your heart. I'm so blessed that she's my friend and my business partner. Here we go.
So the lips, we talked about the lips. Let's talk about the tongue. So the tongue, very, very important. And the tongue is very important in swallowing because it has to be able to move side to side to aid in chewing, because the tongue has to move food from either side for you to chew with your molars. You're even going to mark it.
I'm going to label them so I don't forget.
Are you going to date it and time it too?
Maybe.
Okay. So it has to move food side to side, but it also has to move your food from front to back in a very organized way. Your teeth are very important to swallowing if you are eating a diet that requires chewing. Yes, Phil, it smells very parsnippy.
I forgot how much I enjoy the smell of parsnips.
So parsnips have a little bit of a licoricey smell and taste to me.
A little bit earthy.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
makes sense because they're roots vegetables.
Yes. True.
Usually we would mix parsnips in with mashed potatoes if you're not sure exactly what to do with them. So they go well with mashed potatoes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is true. So we were talking about the teeth. Teeth very important for chewing, for swallowing, but not necessary to swallow. So lots of people who don't have teeth can swallow. Some even chew with their gums. So
I have a lot of people in some of the nursing homes I work in that don't have teeth and they chew just fine.
yeah.
So it's person by person case.
Right, and usually after you've been in edentulous for long enough, your gums are tough and able to handle it.
Yeah.
So the next one is interesting because salivary glands are very important to swallowing. Does anybody know why salivary glands would be important to swallowing? Drop your best answer.
Yeah. So thinking about how parsnips smell makes my salivary glands work.
Right. So
For a
salivary
hint.
glands,
Moisture.
exactly, Janet.
Yes.
Thank you for being the answerer to my question.
I love it.
I put myself out there and you saved me, Janet. So yes, moisture is so very important for chewing and swallowing. So, and actually digestion begins in the mouth.
Yep.
With the salivary, with your saliva. So it is the initial part of digestion because the saliva starts to break down the food.
So what I want to throw in there is that salivary amylase is released and it breaks down carbohydrates in your mouth.
See, she knows more than I do. I just know
But that's a nutrition thing.
Yes.
So if you hold something in your mouth like a cracker and you let it sit there long enough, it's going to start to get very sweet, and that's because the enzyme that's in your saliva is starting to break down the carbohydrate.
Nice.
So that's what it is. Yes. That's where we
Very
work
cool.
very well, because what you do and what I do, they're integrated.
They are. So salivary glands, very important. If you are dehydrated, you won't have as much saliva. You will also not have as much moisture along the entire swallowing tract. So very important to stay hydrated. As a matter of fact, I will take a sip right now.
Good thinking. Thank you. I didn't lose any. It just tilted a little bit. Okay. All right. So there's my parsnip.
Okay. Cool. Why don't we get some of those tall glasses?
Sounds like a plan. Okay. So next I'm going to add, we have onion. I'm going to mix the onion and the garlic together in the blender. So the broth that you use is totally up to you for what you want to do. We got a couple of questions here. So Pauline says moisten the food. Yes. Karen, saliva helps break down the food. Yes. All of the above are true. Janet, some medications give you dry mouth.
Very true.
So
That's why we
true.
ask about medication.
And then Lisa, what if too much saliva and you can blow bubbles?
Well,
Yes.
so there's a lot of questions that I have about having too much saliva. My first question is, are you swallowing often enough to get rid of the saliva that you have in your mouth? So everyone just naturally swallows their saliva during the day. So if you have excess of saliva, I'm guessing that maybe you don't swallow the saliva as the day progresses. You don't have that natural instinct to swallow.
Yes.
Or there is also other conditions that could that would exacerbate the production of saliva. So I would steer you to your medical provider to decide whether you produce too much saliva.
Yes. And there could be reasons for that. What they are right now in this moment, I'm not sure, but there are reasons for that. Yeah. And it's definitely something to have them look at.
Right. So I would pay attention to when you swallow. I have set timers for people to swallow with the timer, and we did it every 5 minutes. And eventually they developed their own rhythm routine of swallowing during the day. But I just set a timer on their phone. It went off, and they knew they needed to swallow what was in their mouth. We call it a dry swallow. It's not necessarily a dry swallow, but I say dry swallow, meaning that we're not giving you something to swallow, but swallowing your saliva would be considered a dry swallow.
There's Mama Patty.
Hi,
Wish
Mama
there was
Patty.
a smell-o-vision.
Welcome back, Mama Patty. I wish there was smell-o-vision for you too, because it smells amazing in here.
All right, garlic. We left it in the what's it called?
Pod?
The little pod.
Paper?
Yep.
In the paper.
And I'm just gonna, so it's nice and caramelized here, I'm just gonna drop it right in with the onions.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be greasy after this. Yes, cooking is a little bit messy.
Well, that's what soap and water is for, right?
True story.
All right. Okay, so let's talk next about the cheeks. How important the cheeks are. Some of the first exercises that I give to people is blow out your cheeks. And then suck them in.
Because those muscles need work.
Very important for you to have the tone in your cheeks to be able to keep food from filling them, filling into them.
And staying there.
Right. If you are able to blow your cheeks out and suck them in, it tells me you have decent tone. Not everybody can do that. It also screams with the seal of the lips. If your lips are strong enough to be able to seal, to hold air in your cheeks, speaks volumes to me too. So requires the lips, and it requires tone in your cheeks.
Our rutabaga is finished.
Is it? Did you try it?
I didn't, but it's smoking hot, so be careful. You're brave.
They're still tough.
Okay, I'll put them back in.
And maybe because I just took it out of the ground today.
It was fresh. It's literally not even 6 hours old.
It's not 3 hours old. I pulled it out of the ground.
Well, I'll add a little bit more broth. We'll get a little more steam in there,
And if
we'll
not,
let it steam.
we've got
plenty.
Plenty
We've
of
got
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So the only other oral muscles that I can talk about really is muscles that you don't even know or think about. So the masseter muscle connects the upper and lower jaw.
It's the big one on the side.
Right. And I have a super tight masseter muscle.
I do as well.
And it's been screaming at me. He gave me a medication called...
We're reading the comments. Thank you for your
drive me
patience.
out. A lot of side effects. Afraid to take it.
Hey, Lisa. Can we talk with you one-on-one in the near future?
Yeah, I would like that.
We have questions. Janet says, does swallowing help exercise your muscles?
Yes. So it would be exercise as you change consistencies. So if you are only on liquid, I would say swallowing is not necessarily exercising. But by alternating different consistencies, you're putting different types of restrictions on your muscles, and that creates more exercise for you. So for people who are on a single consistency for a long period of time, the muscles aren't challenged. So I wouldn't say that they're weak, but they only handle that consistency. So yes, as the consistencies change, that will be exercise for you.
And this is
So,
why
good
for so
question.
many people it feels so weird as they're changing consistencies.
Well, and it's
you've been
frightening
on
because
one.
it feels different. It's hard.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of what we do is like we talk people through what things feel like. We get calls or texts. I just ate such and such and it feels like this. And
Is that normal? I'm
most
scared.
of the time we have to say that's good. Mm-hmm. We're glad that you're feeling that, because if you don't feel something different, then you wouldn't be changing those muscles.
I try to remind people, don't place judgment on what you feel. As long as you can breathe, and usually they hear it in Stephanie's voice. As long as you're still breathing, you're good. Keep breathing. Deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. If you're breathing, you're good. I usually remind people, try not to pass judgment. Be curious about what you're feeling and try not to judge it as good or bad.
Right.
Easier said than done. I realize this. But
that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. And there's different things. So if you have a lot of esophageal things and you're feeling things a certain way, my answer may be different. But Kat's right. If you can breathe, Good. Take a deep breath and calm down because it's going to be okay. We'll work through this.
Yep.
And it's usually about the sensation being...
Can you give me a little bit of olive oil and the onion?
Yeah, hey.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, I ran out of liquid over here. Sorry.
You're good.
I got a lot of blending going on.
We do.
So this is the onion. Some of the pieces are a little crispy. So if you can't tolerate the texture, you may want to strain this.
Yeah.
We're going to try to blend it multiple times, though, to get it as smooth as possible.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So that's... There's not a whole lot about the oral phase other than, you know, how the muscles manage the food to move it side to side to chew and front to back to get to the point where you can initiate a swallow. We've pretty much covered. What kind of questions? Does anyone have any other questions about the oral phase of swallowing?
Or more questions. So I have a question. I heard you say something a couple weeks ago. How many times a day does a person swallow?
Oh, no, you didn't tell me
you
you
were
going to
spot.
ask me that. I didn't remember. What did I say at the time?
I think you said it was like between 600 and 1,000.
Yeah, okay. That sounds familiar.
Right? Sounds familiar?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you should have reminded me to look where.
Sorry.
To where
I mean, we can still look it up.
But that makes sense. So 600 to 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
I didn't know the exact. Yes.
And I think it's different from everybody. But if
you're not swallowing 600 to 1,000 times a day, you may have excess of saliva.
Right.
And find yourself wanting to spit a lot.
Right. So I have TMJ, temporomandibular joint disorder. I have had a lot of work. So my masseter muscle on my right side hurts all the time, especially when my allergies are going crazy and I have weird things going on in my sinuses, right? So I do the massage. I stick my thumb in my cheek and I massage. Well, this TMJ can contribute to oral dysphagia issues. So I'm fully aware of what I should and shouldn't eat because some things are going to be tougher to chew. And if you're having trouble chewing something, it's not necessarily going to go down easily. So I have been known to spit things out. If I can't get them to a point where I'm comfortable swallowing it, I get a napkin and I spit it out. So the other thing is I now have to wear a mouth guard at night when I sleep that's specifically made to hold my jaw in a specific position. And let me tell you that year that I was retraining my jaw where to sit because my joints were really messed up, I had to wear a mouth guard during the day. Even when I ate, I had a special one that hooked to my bottom teeth, and I would have to eat with it on. And let me tell you,
this
okay,
one's really loud.
She's gonna go blend the beats in the other room because the Ninja's really loud. So I produced more saliva because there was something foreign in my mouth that my brain wasn't used to. So the one I wear at night, I do the same thing. I produce a lot of saliva in my mouth at night because I have this thing in my mouth. And I've been wearing it for more than a year, so it causes excess saliva a lot of the time. So anytime your body is producing, and I apologize if you can still hear that because it's still really loud and she's in the other room. Anytime you're producing excess saliva, this also means that moisture is not inside your body, so it may be contributing to some dehydration. So it's really important to make sure that you're drinking and swallowing water safely. If you're feeling, oh, that's beautiful. So beautiful. Yeah, it was really loud, even from in there. Oh. So, good to know.
Yeah.
Do you want to put it in a bag? I don't know if I'm going to have enough baggies, but that's okay because we can always grab a Ziploc.
I have zip tuck, Bev.
Yeah. Yeah. So, having people who have braces for the first time, they produce excess saliva. Sometimes when you have a tooth pulled, when you have an infection, when you, it could be a number of reasons that you're producing excess saliva. So those are just a couple of thoughts that I have on that topic.
All right, we are almost ready to start putting this together into a fun.
I'm gonna grab a plate here. I still have to do the potato. If you don't want to roast potato, you can always just use potato flakes. Add some hot water into them, get them thick, put them in a little baggie, and pipe them out into wherever you're doing. Whatever dish you're plating on. So, turnip. Trying to be very intentional because I'm going to say the wrong thing. Because parsnips, turnips, and rutabagas are still easy for me to get confused, and I am very familiar with them, so they're very... Colleen says, Stephanie, is difficulty swallowing liquid a problem in the oral phase?
It absolutely can be.
That's a fabulous question.
It absolutely can start in the oral phase of swallowing. So if you are not managing that liquid from the very beginning, it can cause problems even in the pharyngeal phase. And usually people who have oral phase problems also have pharyngeal phase problems. It's rare that it's only oral phase. I see more just pharyngeal phase problems than I see just oral phase problems. So it is usually a combination of the two. So yes, it could start with, I would guess that with liquids, it's about the tongue, because the tongue has to be able to manage the base, or the back of the tongue is very important. It's the gatekeeper. So it is what manages it until you're ready to initiate a good, strong, coordinated swallow. And if it doesn't manage your liquid before that time comes, then it leaks it to the pharyngeal phase. And then the pharyngeal phase is out of sync. And trying to do things out of order. So yes, absolutely, it most certainly can start at the oral phase. Good question, Pauline.
I feel like there are more questions just based on that one. So
yeah,
anyone else, if you have any other questions, whether it's related to chewing, if it's related to feeling like there's food stuck along your gums and your teeth or in your cheeks, or any of those, if you're feeling like it's getting away from you,
right?
So we hear that often.
So positioning is very important to the oral phase of swallowing. If you are reclined back and having difficulties, it's because gravity is doing its thing and pulling it to the pharyngeal phase before it's ready. So that upright posture, very important to the oral phase, so that it can manage it until the pharyngeal phase is ready to kick in its sequence.
Okay, so onion and
that
garlic.
one's bread.
This is one way to also make like onion jam.
Oh,
FYI. So I wish I had the smell-o-vision here, because this, if you roast onion and garlic together and blend them with a little bit of broth, and you add bone broth instead of just onion broth like we have today, you get this nice, rich, luxurious, protein-rich onion garlic mixture that is great on anything. We could almost put this in the dressing, which I think...
Oh my gosh, I want like a piece of crispy bread with that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, everybody, if you can't eat crispy bread. Because that's really what I want right now.
Her stomach just started growling too. You just don't know it yet. Okay, so would you rinse this one as well, please? And then we have just the potato left. So I'm going to take an orange, and then we have another couple of questions. Pauline says, is that something you can help me with, Stephanie? I feel like my liquid is getting away from me.
Yep.
She says, yep, if you couldn't hear that because her back is turned. She says, yep. Cindy says, what is the best position to sit during eating? Welcome, Cindy. We're so happy you're watching this week.
So I like to call it a 90-degree sit. So if you think about your feet your legs need to be 90 degrees. Sorry, you can't see. But this part of your leg needs to be 90 degrees with the floor. Mm-hmm. You need to be sitting straight, upright, 90 degrees. Feet on the floor, upright, 90 degrees.
Head on a string.
Best just
from the ceiling.
Like you're being pulled straight up. Yes.
Yep.
Exactly. Thank you, Kat.
You're welcome.
Okay. At a table. Never at a couch. Never in a bed. Those are just terrible positions. Sets you up for failure.
Lisa says using a straw is a big no. No in capital letter.
Let's talk about that.
Stephanie says let's talk about that if you didn't hear her. Okay, so I took my orange and I just rolled it so it's nice and squishy. I'm going to take a little bit of zest off of it because the zest has really good flavor. If we need to strain this afterwards, we will.
Okay, potatoes. I'm not forgotten about the straw.
She's coming back to the straw because this is a topic that she loves to talk about with people. So when you're zesting an orange, you don't want to get the white part off of it. You can use orange zest in just about any flavor. You can use it in dressings. You can use it in marinades. You can use it when you make a smoothie in the morning. You can use it in when I make baked goods. You can add it into there, and you can't even tell it's there. So if you can have like a baked good that is soaked in milk and gets really soft, it's nice to have that orange essence. So then Karen says, what about a thin metal straw? So I'm going to let Stephanie...
So that is totally dependent on your skills. So straws can be very scary. Who said that? Lisa.
Lisa did.
So yes, straws can be very scary. So if you think about it, when you drink through a straw, it moves that liquid very, very quickly through a very small space. So when it enters your mouth, it is entering your mouth at a farther back place in your mouth than you would normally sip from. So number one, it's coming faster than it would be if you were sipping, and it's coming farther back than it would be if you're sipping. So if there is any delay whatsoever in your swallow, if there is any weakness or coordination problems, that liquid can and will get away from you very quickly. Coughing, again, if you drink from a straw and you cough, the cough is good. Never stop a cough. But if you cough too much, you're going to burn more calories than you're going to get in. So then it becomes a nutritional thing. So straws can be a big no for a lot of people. So what do you do, Lisa? Do you drink from small cups, or is it, do you have a special cup that it delivers a certain amount at a time? There are special cups that will deliver only 5 or 10 cc's at a time.
It's called the Provale cup. You can get it on Amazon.
And Karen, a thin metal straw, if that works for you, that's great. So I have trained people to drink from a straw starting with a cocktail straw.
So the little tiny skinny short ones.
You drink from a cup now and take small sips. Okay, good. Yeah, very important. So one of the things that's important when you're drinking from a cup, I usually recommend small cups and continually refilling them, because if you drink from a big cup like this, after you get to about halfway, you start having to tip your head back, and then gravity's going to take it. So I usually recommend a small cup, and you just continually refill it so that you can tip the cup and not your head.
Right.
So good, really good
Really good
questions
questions.
tonight. Wow.
The video stopped. I wonder if we had a... Sorry, I was so focused on my orange squeezing. So we can say that again, Lisa. That's fine.
Yep.
So we want you to take small sips, and if you have a tall glass, gravity takes over if you have to tip your head back, right? So if you have a small glass and you can just tip the cup and not the glass.
Yep.
Or sorry, if you can just tip the cup and not your head, that's better. Okay, she says we're back. All right.
Okay.
I feel like, Lisa, we should have a one-on-one chat with you. If anyone else needs some help and wants to have a one-on-one chat with us, we do that. Let us know.
Yeah. So I don't know how much cut off. Sorry, guys. What we were talking about is if you're drinking from a cup because you can't drink from a straw, drinking from a big glass like this is great as long as it's full. You got it. Okay.
Is this your open honey?
That is not my open honey.
Is it in here? We could use hot honey. They would never know.
No. This is.
Do you want to use that honey?
I don't know.
So in here I have some of the onion and garlic roasted, pureed. I added orange juice. I'm going to add a little bit of the orange zest. We're going to add honey. Actually, I'm going to grab a knife to add the honey. Oh, it's beautiful. Thank your bees for me.
Yes.
I'm going to add a lot. Holy cow. It's going to be sweet orange garlic onion dressing.
I like it.
Okay. Do you want to start building our molded? Janet says she didn't lose us. Okay.
Okay, good.
Sometimes the internet does weird things in weird places. So
I forgot to blend the potatoes.
oh, that's okay. So the thing with blending potatoes, you don't want to blend too much because they turn into glue, okay? So, I am thinking right now, because we want our dressing to be one cohesive, Suzanne says, can your honey be purchased, Stephanie?
Girl, yes. We just spun some more honey this weekend.
FYI, if you're having allergies in the area that you live in, you should get local to you raw honey. Because it uses the pollen from your local area, which is typically what. So if you have allergies, find your local raw honey. If you just need honey, yes, Stephanie has bees that are doing a wonderful job.
They've been busy this year. Okay, well, I'm going to need a spatula here.
I can get you one. It's covered in orange juice because I have orange juice all over my hands. So, okay. All right. So what we're going to do is, if you were with us last week, you saw that we used a mold to do our beautiful butternut squash soup, and we mixed some potato flakes in with it to thicken it. So we didn't use thickener. So we have a leaf mold today. This plate is almost too small for this mold. We have a couple of different ones. So let's
just do a smaller one.
Because
we can show how.
Yeah.
Let's do a smaller one.
We also have, it's a maple leaf.
It's a Canadian maple leaf.
I'm a fan.
Who's from Canada?
Janet
is from Canada. Canadian maple leaf, just for you.
I saw a Nova Scotia license plate today as I was driving here.
Okay, you
How
need
fun
to
is
grab
that?
my scissors.
I, of course, moved them. There you are, my friend. Okay, so we're going to layer this, and we're going to try to do it with contrasting colors, okay?
Yeah,
so
starting with potatoes.
Start with potatoes. No, you're good.
All right, so, yep, you can see, I think.
Yep, I think so.
Okay, potato. I need to, where's
your little spatula? We'll just push it down with our knife here.
I don't want to put too much because we have so many layers.
It doesn't have to be perfect, just FYI. If it's not perfect, we call it a feature. So go with that. Okay, so let's do carrot next. And like I said, if you need to thicken any of this, so I'm just going to cut off a small bit there. So I'm going to take this. There might be a little too much liquid in our carrot, so it might leak all over the place. I'm just going to go around. We just want a nice, beautiful layer on there. Trying to make sure everyone can really see. Okay, and then I'm going to do some turnip. Something's going on outside. The dogs aren't barking. So turnip next. I labeled them so I wouldn't get them confused. Okay. All right.
Okay, sorry. They want to play with the squirrels.
Oh, okay. Pauline has a question. I have not read the whole thing yet.
All right. Stephanie, can you tell if difficulty swallowing liquid is due to anxiety or a problem with oral phase? Enjoying cooking, ladies. We'll have to leave in a minute. Late in England. I am sure it is late in England. So usually I can rule out that there's...
Our beets are a little bit
watery.
Watery. That's okay. We'll just do...
Usually, yes, I can. Because I can rule out that there's anything going on orally, muscularly, speed-wise, but sometimes anxiety leads to discoordination, and that's where I find the biggest problem with anxiety is that it is changing the coordination of your swallow based on your anxiety or based on your fears. So I would say, Pauline, yes, I can. I can.
Yeah. So this is the, what did I say before? This is the parsnip. Okay. The rutabaga's back there. We might have it might just be a tough rutabaga. I don't know if we got it too...
It's been in the ground a long time.
Yeah.
We harvested rutabagas a long time ago, but these were still really tiny back then, so I didn't want to take them. So, yeah,
it is what it is. We just might not use it. Okay, so I'm gonna taste our dressing here real quick before we put this on. I have a little bit of bleeding along, so I spilled the beet, right?
I will get that.
And I have some of the carrot that's leaking out. Pauline says you're so knowledgeable. She really is. She knows her stuff.
Yes, please. I'll have some of that.
So I gotta taste it first. I didn't add any seasoning to this, so it may need salt, pepper.
It's all right.
Oh, it's delightful. Here. Okay.
Oh, I can't wait to taste it all together.
So I'm going to take the mold off. We're hoping this is going to work, right?
Everything out of the way.
I wish it were a little bit prettier here, but here we go.
We could have thickened everything, but we didn't want to thicken. Oh.
So there we have this beautiful leaf.
You know what we forgot to do?
What did we forget to do? The parsley?
We were going to add protein. We were going to add protein to one of the layers.
We were. Throw some in here. Throw it in the dressing.
Okay.
Throw it in the dressing.
How much?
Half a scoop. It might get foamy, so I'm curious to see.
That might would have even thickened up some of the...
So, if you need extra protein in this dish, you find an unflavored collagen protein. There's
any kind of protein.
There's bone broth protein out there that's unflavored.
There you go.
Okay. Do you have a packet of thickener with you? So I'm going to throw a packet of thickener in this dressing because this is going to go everywhere. If you're okay with it going everywhere, that's fine. But I want to show you that
the sauce does, right?
Even if, yeah, I mean, okay.
The sauce is intended to kind of...
If you need it thicker, add thickener. and pour it over the top. So
I will grab a thickener just to show everybody.
Yep. Okay. So here we are. We're gonna pour our orange, our sweetened orange honey garlic sauce right over the top. Okay. So what's really nice about this is you can eat it. And then the other thing I wanted to do was do some like parsley oil. So Stephanie picked this parsley, and I think we're kind of out of time to do this.
Yep.
But if you take just the leaves and you put it in your blender with some oil, you're gonna just blend it to death. To just keep blending
until it becomes a liquid.
And then you're gonna want to strain it, and then you can put it in a little squeeze bottle or something like that, and you can put it over the top as a nice, beautiful color garnish.
And I'm going to show you a quick before we have to go. It may kick us off, but some people make their carrots, so they puree carrots and then
they make little carrots.
Make carrots.
Yeah, and we can do that. I think if we add,
I'm not good at it.
Well, this is also thinner.
It's the wrong, yeah.
So
if we thickened this,
if we added a little bit of thickener, yes, it would make a nice, beautiful, and
they make peas like this.
Next year, we're gonna next week, next month, something like that. We have some cookie cutters that are veggies, and we're gonna do this. So you don't need a fancy mold. You can get these on Amazon, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was like $7.99.
Shall we try this?
Yes, let's try it.
Okay. So
it's for the most part holding its shape.
Yep.
Ooh, that's
orange. A lot. I love orange on roasted root vegetables. So there's a lot of flavor going on here, and you get the beautiful colors of each. And so I want you all to know that if you take a few extra minutes and do all this stuff, yes, it helps if you have 2 blenders. You're going to end up with a beautiful, delicious dish, and it takes a few extra minutes, yes. But the great part about this is now, so I just folded over the tips of these, okay? Tie these off with like a twist tie or a rubber band or something. If you fold these over,
set them in a cup.
Set them in a cup.
You've got them for next time.
You can pop them in the fridge, and then you can reheat them. You have to be careful in the microwave depending on what you clamped them over with. Reheat them a little bit, mush them around so that the temperature is distributed evenly, and then you can do this again the next day, and you've already done all the hard work, right? So this can be accessible.
Or you can put it in squeeze bottles. You don't have to use the bags.
So what we didn't do is do like a minced and moist or a soft and bite-sized. If we had done that, we would have just left our veggies whole. If you chop them smaller and roast them, you don't have to roast them for as long. We want to make sure there's extra moisture. So sometimes it's better to steam them or boil them quickly instead of roasting. If you boil them, you will lose flavor and nutrients into the water. So steaming is a great option. You have one of those steamer baskets?
Yeah.
If you have one of those old school steamer baskets, or sometimes now they make like inserts into pots and pans that have holes in the bottom for steaming. Really, really great options for if you're steaming. And if you want to roast, I highly recommend adding some butter or some oil when you're blending. Add your seasoning. So we salted and peppered before we put them in the oven. You may need some extra moisture. So broth is good to have. I like bone broth because it has the extra protein, but it's totally up to you. If you don't want to use bone broth, you can get this collagen or unflavored protein of another kind and add that to any of these things that we just pureed. That's the onion garlic extra. So I poured it out because we could put onion and garlic on the top too, and then it would just be extra.
Had you put a layer of it?
No, it's just in the dressing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, Jan, thank you. Yes, we want to introduce color, and especially because right now the leaves are starting to turn and fall, and So this is just a fun way to kind of celebrate fall and appreciate that we can do some things with flavor and you don't have to be as limited by this thing called dysphagia, as long as you have the understanding of what you can do. And that's part of the reason that we are here.
Yep, we can teach you how to make very flavorful foods. You don't have to live on protein drinks.
Or store-bought purees.
Or store-bought purees.
They're
full of salt.
There are ways to do it. Lisa, you are very welcome. If you don't mind, I'm going to try to reach out to you and send you a message, or
let's talk,
so that we can set up a time to talk, because I think we could at least give you some tips or something. So let us know. Anyone, if you need some one-on-one time with us, please reach out. We have a button on our website that says book a consultation. If you're on a computer, it's in the upper right-hand corner. If you're on a phone, you have to go to the little 3 lines in the upper left-hand corner and click on that, and then it's at the bottom. I learned that recently. So I have to be careful who I'm telling what, because I forget. So we love having you all here. We love helping you. We love answering your questions. Please let us know what you want to do, and we're happy to try to figure it out.
Yeah. Thanks for joining tonight. We appreciate you, and you make us so excited for what we do. Thank you.
And join us next week as we talk about pharyngeal dysphagia.
Yeah. Have a great week, guys.
See you later, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen.